I'm Sean Adams.
I'm Noreen Morioka, and this is Designorama. Today, we're going to investigate and explore the different icons throughout history. Anyway, I think one of the first icons or ideas of icons maybe were the paintings in Lascaux.
Yeah, I mean, backing all the way up, I think that'd be a great example of one of the first situations where you had to actually use some kind of an icon or an image to represent your specific experience of the world.
Well, I think also, what's also important about that, why it makes a great design, is I think it does have some type of emotional resonance to it. And I think that's one thing that people forget. It's not about if it's pretty so much so, but it also tells a story.
But the reason that we talk about the cave paintings of Lascaux is because they're incredibly well designed. They're incredibly beautifully articulated icons of animals and a hunt.
And then as we go into hieroglyphics, which was taking everyday common objects and turning them into pictograms, or icons, as you would say.
I think the thing that I love about hieroglyphics is it started out as simple pictograms, specifically meaning that thing, and then as time went on, it slowly evolved to being sounds that had to do with language.
Well, and then actually that evolves into the idea of what's happening in Asia, right? Mm-hmm. I think the Chinese characters that were adopted by the Japanese, as well as some of them were adopted by the Korean cultures, are now over 3,000 characters. Mm-hmm. And they are based on pictograms that then were associated with different sounds in different parts of the language.
Right.
Where are we going from there?
Well, I think this idea of universality that you were talking about, which is similar, I guess, in a way to like...
environmental icons, right? Directional icons that we use.
Right, right. Mm-hmm. So if you're in an airport in Russia, you're going to know where the bathroom is.
Yes.
Theoretically.
Yeah, and you know which one the men's bathroom is and the women's bathroom is.
Because everyone can look at those symbols the same way.
And understand what's going on.
Right. And so as the world gets sort of smaller and smaller and
I think the icons
cultures are intermixing, icons become more and more critical.
Actually, that's what I think is very funny right now, is if you look at the Olympic icons from year to year, or from games to games, they're all beginning to look the same, and I don't know why we keep always redrawing them, but that's my...
Because someone has to get paid.
Oh, that commerce side happens
right.
again. Okay,
yeah.
we're moving right along.
And you might be hired to redraw them someday, so you should be glad for that.
And actually, after this showing, probably not. But moving on to the computers then, when we first started the computers, it was MS-DOS, and you would write things like drive A, : backspace, run program.
Right.
And then you see the interface, the Macintosh interface that came in, which is all icon based. A little bit more intuitive. Mm-hmm. That's a hard drive. Your cursor was more like your hand, either selecting it or opening it up. Then you saw folders. You saw program icons. No longer were you guessing about if that file was a Word document. You were saying things like, oh, that's an Illustrator document.
Right. It's funny, I think because we're so used to looking at that screen and seeing those icons at this point that they just seem completely obvious and, easy. But that's an enormously difficult task to come up with icons that people can understand across cultures and that function intuitively. Like you said, like folders opening up and, those kinds of interfaces.
Well, it actually goes back to Lascaux, once again.
Right.
Taking the essence down to its most simplistic and core form and making it so that everybody, wherever you're at, can understand what's happening.
Right. So like corporate identity does the same thing then.
Oh, we totally forgot about corporate identities.
I didn't.
That's an evolution into it. God, I hate you. Anyway, so corporate identities.
Right. I think I remember Saul Bass telling me once that when AT&T was forced to be split up by Congress when it was a monopoly, and a value had to be assigned to every single piece of it, from a telephone pole to a switching station, and the AT&T Death Star logo, which Saul didn't call it that, but we do, was valued at $400 million.
But I think that's something important to say. I think when you talk about branded logos and companies, again, those are an image that doesn't tell you what the company does. It's an image of signifying who they are.
The best corporate identities do that.
Right.
The bad ones are the ones that describe exactly what that industry or that company does, and we've all seen those. Whereas something like the Apple or
the Nike swoosh.
The Nike swoosh. That doesn't tell you anything about sneakers or athletics. It gives you an attitude and an identifier, and that's it. So that if 20 years from now Nike decided they didn't want to make sneakers, they could. They wouldn't have to change that identity. It's open-ended.
To wrap up this episode. I have a good idea.
Okay.
So like the icon for you and I would be a plus and you would be a minus.
That's right. That's right. Now you would be a giant question mark.
You'd be an X. All right.